Hari Om. So, to continue with the previous session, we have understood that by default, knowingly or unknowingly, we have limited the child with a name in a naming ceremony. And I tell you, that is unavoidable. That is very much required to interact in the world, isn't it? In case if all of us, the bodies, the beings, if we have no identity, then how do you respond? How do you communicate? How do you talk? How do we address? That becomes a very big issue, isn't it? So, for the sake of saying yes, we say that we as parents have conditioned the children with a name. We are conditioning the students with the roll numbers. Correct? Everywhere that labeling is there for the functionality. Now, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to lift ourselves up. Okay, now that happens, and therefore we have the Balavihars, the Yoga Kendras, the youth group, the Devi group, the Mahila groups, right? We have different groups. All these spiritual organizations are having that. Because from one end, knowingly or unknowingly, the naming ceremony happened maybe in the West. Before the birth itself, they decide the name and they have to give to the hospital. So when they give the birth certificate, it comes along with the name printed. But Indian scenario, what happens is the child's name is not disclosed till the last moment after the birth, after 3 weeks or 4 weeks. They look into an auspicious time where the star constellations are all good and favorable. And with that, based on the birth star, there is a system how the name has to start with. So, and then they decide, they discuss with the elders, and they give a name. This is one part. And then 3 years, 5 years roll on. So the conditioning happened for 5 years, and still that is too yet tender. Then, when a child is being introduced to Bala Vihas, or at home itself, we start teaching them the great epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, or if we belong to other communities, it can be like the Quran, the Bible, the Dhammapada, and Guru Granth Sahib, whatever text it is, irrespective. Slowly, the child, though it is functioning in the physical world, from inside they get to know the insides of the spiritual life, the spiritual awakening. So don't worry, the child will not get disturbed, or there will not be any split personalities or dual characters. The child comes to an understanding term that I am so and so, but initially it may think, but there is a force which is governing me. Apart from my parents, my teachers, and elders, there is some other force which is sustaining the whole universe. Therefore, it is a cosmos which is sustaining. What we do, what we create becomes a chaos. But there is some force which is governing the cosmos. So that cosmos is also governing me. That understanding seeps in, then the functionality of name will be there, but the identification with the name and the ego factor, the ego factor will not be there. Therefore, in our system, at the end of every activity, we have a saying, Krishna Arpanamastu, Rama Arpanamastu. Correct? And whenever we have received anything, then we receive that with the prasada bhava. as the blessings of the God. We say Narayana, Narayana, and then we receive it. Or Govinda, Govinda, or anything based on your Ishta Devata. So we think that the entity is none other than the God Himself has come in this particular form to help us. And of course, on a term, we should not be what you call ungrateful. Nowadays, gratitude, the factor is being dissolved. It's not there in the world. I know a lot of people, they receive a lot of help, and then they say, what has he done? What has she has done? It is destined for me to happen, it happened. No, 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 no. You see, when we receive something, reciprocation has to be there. We call them as return gifts. Do you know that? So you host a function and somebody comes to gift you, to wish you, and then you give a return gift. So the transactional level should be very, very clear as to what we are doing, how we are doing. And at the inner level, again, you should have the same clarity that it is He who is doing or who is giving. For example, most of us know how the day and night happens, correct? Now, especially with the science and all, the sun is at the center of the solar system, and all the other heavenly bodies, they are going round. Correct? The sun is static and earth is going round. But still, in communication, we say the sun is rising in the east and the sun sets in the west. Though we might say that, but in our mind we know the reality. Similar here, functionality, yes, but inside also equal yes. With that understanding, we should move about. So when we develop this attitude, this character, the mind becomes free from all the impure impulses of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya. Then, when all the shed vikaras, distortions, when they fall, when they crumble, then the spiritual life is achieved. So, you see, to gain spiritual life, nothing need be done. The only thing is drop. Drop things from your hand like a hot potato. What all to be dropped off or left? Desire, anger, miserliness, passion or extra attachment, arrogance or pride, and last but not the least, irsha, jealousy. If these six, if we leave, the pot becomes empty. Into an empty pot, anything can be filled. The divine nectar comes and fills the pot. Here, when I say pot, it is the mind. Till then, it will not sit. Though the heavenly nectar is falling, it overflows because it is already full with these things. And with that pure mind, when we have achieved that spiritual life, then just close your eyes. And being in an open eyes, one can go to Samadhi, because there are no thoughts there, no desire there, no planning there. Then arises the knowledge of the self. In other words, that is called as moksha or liberation. Liberation or moksha, not that after we die we go somewhere else, above the clouds, into the heavens. No, my dear friend, now and here. How? By being aware every moment. So with this, we'll conclude today's session here. Thanks for being Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru.